to you. What is going on, Chapel? I love what Jamie just said earlier about disarming the enemy. This isn't in my notes, but Lord kind of told me to go off the beaten path a little while ago, but about disarming the enemy. And today I'm going to talk about people and family members, friends who have been disarmed by the enemy. The enemy has used things to disarm them and take their power from them. And so, little backstory for me, I graduated from Florence High School last year. I'm currently at UNA. I play that guitar over there quite a bit here at Chapel. I've been here at Chapel for a few years now. I absolutely love this church and love you guys. But I'm gonna get a little real with y'all. So my parents divorced when I was halfway through kindergarten, and I didn't really realize it at the time, being that young, but looking back, I can kind of, see the cracks that were formed by that. My dad was a musician, like myself, and just the stress of, being on tour all the time was really hard on the family. But my dad was still my hero. I mean, he was literally a rock star. He brought me to the studio, he invested in all of my interests. Whether it was musical or not, I told him I wanted to play drums when I was like 6, and I went home the next day and there was a drum set sitting in the middle of the living room. But he was that kind of dad. He led worship at the little church I grew up in, and he was just a great dad. But then he got sick, and it's not, it wasn't cancer, it wasn't ALS or Parkinson's, but it was addiction, and it really is a sickness. He had chronic back pain for years and years, and couldn't, take 2 months to have surgery and recover. And so the doctors, suggested that he take painkillers, and doses went up and medicines changed, and it got to a point where he started taking the medicines that doctors don't prescribe. But as I tell this story, a lot of the times, it seems really dark, but it's a story of hope. Even though, even if you guys are in similar situations with your family or friends, it may not look good now, but that doesn't matter. God does have a plan. I just love how all of these stories kind of tie in together. And you can't rush God's timing. And so, you might not like the season that you're in, but you're in it for a reason. And those people who have been disarmed by the enemy, they haven't lost their power forever. God has the authority to grant that power back and fully restore those people. And it's only Him. We can't do it. People who are in situations like this always, think that they could have done something better or done something different or said a different, said the right words, but it's not something we can tell them or do them. It's something we have to take to God. Because He's the only one. He's the only one that can fix it. But I'm going to read from Romans 7:21. It says, "So I find it to be a law that when I want to do right, evil lies close at hand. For I delight in the law of God in my inner being. But I see in my members another law waging war against the law of my mind and making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. Wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then I myself serve the law of God with my mind, but with my flesh I serve the law of sin." And this verse really is just, in my mind, showcasing the mind of someone who has been plagued by addiction. They want so badly to step back into the light of God, but the devil's just got a grip on them. And it's a grip that nobody can help them shake except for Jesus. As people in the modern world, we're surrounded daily by things that could destroy our closest with God. Idols, social media, video games, music, everything. And so, but all of those things can be vices, every single one. And some people overcome theirs, and some people become consumed by them. And so there are two types of people in this room that I want to speak to. One, unfortunately, this group is larger than I wish it was. It's the people who do know somebody that suffers from an addiction, or they have suffered or are suffering from an addiction. And the other group of people are people that don't understand that have never walked through that, and so they don't know. They can't really understand or speak on those situations like someone who has been through that. So to the first group, I see you and I hear you, and I'm sorry that you guys have to walk through that, because it's not fun. But that story isn't over, right? There are more chapters. The book doesn't end with, and they became addicted and they were consumed by their addiction. That's not the end of the story. There's that but God. Every time. It might not look like you thought, or that what you're praying for. It might not look exactly like what you're wanting, but God is going to flip that situation to glorify him. So I'm going to read from Proverbs 23, verse 29 says, "Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who tarry long over wine, those who go to try mixed wine. Do not look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart utter perverse things. You will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, like one who lies on top of a mast. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. They beat me, but I did not feel it. When shall I awake? I must have another drink." And so I love what this verse says. It says, do not look at wine when it is red, because those vices always look so nice. They always look so appealing, so polished, so clean. And so this verse is telling you, don't even look at it. Don't give it the time of day. Don't think about it. Don't give it your attention. And so there's actually a third group, and there's those people who know their vice. And everyone here has a vice. It's just the nature of the world to entice us away from God. But don't look at it. Don't give it a single thought. And take that time that you may have wanted to indulge and turn to God. Turn to Jesus and ask him to give you strength to overcome that. And so I just want to close with saying, how do we find hope in a situation where there seems to be none? Because I'm going to tell you, addiction up close is nasty. It's dark and it's dirty and it's messy. And so how can someone who is so close to something like that find peace or joy or hope about that situation? And the simple and complex at the same time answer is Jesus. He will meet you there. He really will. It's a beautiful thing to have a peace that surpasses all understanding, and it does exist. I prayed for it for a long time, and God has given me that peace. I have peace about a situation that may not be right now. It may not look like I want it to look, but I know it's not the end of the story, and it's not the end of your story. Thank y'all so much.